Welcome to this video on Turabian style footnotes. Today we'll cover the question, when do I need to use a footnote? You might ask this question if you're not sure if you need to footnote only word-for-word quotes or if you need to cite every little bit of outside information you put in your paper. So when do you need a footnote? The short answer is that in Turabian, you use a footnote every time you take information from someone else. Again, that's every time you take information from a book, YouTube video, online article, journal article, or any other source. Just keep in mind, to share something true and worthwhile, you need other people's input. In fact, using sources well is how Kate Turabian describes your duty to be an effective and responsible research writer. First of all, you want to show your readers that they can trust you to do good research and represent that honestly in your papers. This is a matter of ethos, showing your reliability as a research writer. Next, you want to give other authors credit for what they've said. Don't try to take credit for someone else's ideas. You have your own brilliant ideas. It's unethical to pretend that you're the origin of someone else's words and ideas when, in fact, you're not. Finally, you have a duty to follow your conscience. This is a protection for yourself that as a research writer, you know you're writing in a way that protects you from legal or academic consequences. If your conscience is bothering you, listen. The most common application here will be to, in doubt, use a footnote. You might be thinking, wait, okay, I understand my duty. I will use footnote citations. But you may still be wondering, when exactly do I need to? What does that look like in my paper? Can I only quote a source word for word? When do I use quotation marks? What if I want to change the author's wording slightly or boil down an entire paragraph? The next section of the video will introduce the 4 main ways to repackage information from a source and present it in your paper with a footnote. First, let's overview the 4 ways to repackage a quote: direct quotes, summaries, paraphrases, and facts and statistics. Now, let's understand each of these individually. First are direct quotes. In a word-for-word quote, Leonardo da Vinci says, "Who sows virtue reaps honor." Direct quotes are the exact words someone else spoke or wrote. Direct quotes are always enclosed by quotation marks, followed by a footnote number. This is the only time you will use quotation marks. That is, when you quote a source or person word for word. Sometimes you might interject your own words into the middle of a direct quote. You want to clearly place quotation marks around the direct quote to differentiate it from your words. Just remember that the words which came directly from the source need to be surrounded by quotation marks. Summaries condense the content and are followed by a footnote number. A good way to boil down a quote or section of a source is either to ask what was the main point or what did that material accomplish. In our case, when Da Vinci declares who sows virtue reaps honor, one thing he accomplishes is bringing up the topic of virtue. You could summarize the previous direct quote. Da Vinci discusses virtue in his notebook. The third way to repackage source material is paraphrasing. Paraphrases reword the author's idea, followed by a footnote number. One could paraphrase Da Vinci's original direct quote, "Who sows virtue reaps honor," by rewriting it, "The seeds of morality bloom with glory." A paraphrase repeats the meaning of the quote in all different words. Fourth are facts and statistics. One fact about Da Vinci is that Da Vinci wrote with his left hand. Basic facts or percentages do not need to be surrounded by quotation marks. However, facts and statistics are followed by a footnote number. For another example, you might share the fact of a person's birth year, or you might share a statistic about the hours college students spend studying weekly. Okay, now that we've discussed direct quotes, summaries, paraphrases, facts, and statistics, I hope you have a clearer picture of how and when to use footnotes. Now, let's wrap up this video with 2 footnote caveats. So these exceptions will instruct you on 2 cases in which you do not need to use a footnote. The first exception is common knowledge. For example, we all know snails have shells. This is common information, and you do not need to find a source to prove it in your paper. So you don't have to use a footnote if you're writing about common knowledge. Now, there is one more case in which Turabian does not require a footnote. Rather, the footnote is replaced by a citation in parentheses. This switch applies anytime you're quoting a source that's ancient or classic. After quoting sources in these categories, you will place in parentheses the name of the book and a place indicator like the page number or paragraph number. For example, in parentheses following a Bible verse, you might write Genesis 1:1 ESV. In review, when do you need a footnote? You footnote every time you take information from someone else. What about quotation marks? Just keep in mind that the quotation marks are for direct quotes. But all information that you glean from another source, besides the two exceptions, requires a footnote. Thank you for watching this video answering when do I need to use a footnote. Please see our YouTube channel, WCSE, for more videos on Turabian citations and the skill of writing.